feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
Live Thursday evening, October 24th, 2024. Where did the month go? Where's the year going? I'm Rich Mancuso. This is Keep It in the Ring, as always, with you, 8 p.m. Eastern, here. My YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso. Like, comment, and subscribe. My Facebook page, Keep It in the Ring, like that. AGT Network, and of course, Stream Punk Entertainment with my great producer, Scott Church, who's back in the fold with this week. I'm glad everything is well on his end. And you, all of you, thanks for watching every week and being a support of the program. As I always say, keep it in the ring. My social media, again, X, Twitter, Ring786, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso. I'm on Instagram. Leave my content on String Punk Entertainment, Latinosports.com, NewYorkSportsDay.com, some of the outlets that I write for, among others. And, you'll just find me. I'm everywhere. Boxing is getting this fall calendar a little slow right now. We'll pick up, though, in a couple of weeks. And, the pro wrestling scene, we'll talk about that. WWE is hot, as you know, with some different great angles. And AEW, they're hanging in there with some interesting angles and storylines that have come up. We'll talk about that as well. Fight calendar, very limited, bottom of the screen. It will pick up, though, next week and the week after. But for now, we'll talk about the fights coming up this Saturday on the Zone, and I'll get that towards the bottom of our boxing segment. We begin, though, with the 154-pound division in boxing that, of course, is getting more interesting. And the reason is because of this. What happened over the weekend was the undefeated IBF junior middleweight champ, Bakhram Murtazaliev, 29-0, 23-0, 17 knockouts, all over Tszyu. 3 rounds, that's all it took on the Zone. And the round 2, Tszyu was dropped. Wasn't much of a fight. Tszyu 3 times knocked down. Again in round 3, it was over. The corner threw in the towel, 155. It was over. Tszyu, former champion, who was dethroned by Sebastian Fundora earlier this year in a bloodbath and match of the fight of the year candidate, is now sustained his second loss in a row in the division. Of course, Sebastian Fundora and him had that bloodbath, and you wonder if that took a toll on Tszyu, who just has not been the same. This fight was a no contest from the beginning. Yet Tszyu says that he'll rebound and come back, but where can he come back to? It's tough for any fighter to rebound after 2 consecutive losses, especially the one before, when you lose a championship as he did. He didn't say when, where, who, but we got an idea where this could be going. We'll lay it down to you because the 154-pound division has some talent. A lot of fighters, though, have been inactive. Let's run it through. Let's first look at the punch stats on this loss. Bakhram dominated from the opening round. He 18 more punches dominating in the opening round. That gave you a preview of what was to happen. But Tszyu was more accurate, according to the punch stat CompuBox numbers. But Tszyu seemed to be desperate in this fight. He was throwing punches everywhere, and that's not going to land you points, and it's not going to get you anywhere. You tire out. Whether he was a tired-out fighter or not, it was a loss, and not one of his better fights in his career. So Bakhram doubled up in the power punch category. Again, CompuStats in the end don't determine a fight, but they tell the story. And here, these CompuStat punch stat numbers that I look at, and many do, told the story about Tszyu's third round loss and second consecutive loss in his career. He's not going away. We just don't know when, where, and who he's going to get in a division that has this, as we'll show it to you now. As you know, Terrence Crawford. He has one part of these titles. He's the interim WBO champ. Okay? And there was a lot of talk, too, about Fundora, who has one of the titles. And where does Fundora go? The lanky Mexican Does he get Errol Spence Jr. next? There's been talk about that this week, that Fundora Spence could happen. Or Fundora against Terence Crawford could be in the wings, could be waiting. Or it could be the idol Jamal Charlo, which makes this division even more confusing. You have talented fighters, but you have champions either in recess, as they say, or idol among the many alphabet soup boxing organizations. Now, Jamal Charlo is the WBA champ and WBC champ, as they say, in recess, whatever that means. And Virgil Ortiz Jr. is in this mix also. He is the WBC interim champ, with no fight down the line has been announced or speculated as of yet. Regardless, when you look at the names, you have Terence Crawford, who is one of the dominant fighters in the sport. As you know, many consider him the pound-for-pound best, along with Canelo Alvarez. And Fundora has made himself known. More known the way he fought Tszyu back in March, a fight that everyone will remember. It was a 12-round battle, a battle, of course, one of those bloodbaths in boxing, reminiscent of Gotti Ward and their 3 epic fights in their trilogy. We don't know, though, where Tszyu goes from here. We do know that Bakhram, the champion, has options. And any number of those names I just mentioned could be next. He's under the main events boxing calendar. Very, very satisfied with his performance. In fact, today, his publicist over at Main Events turned out some interesting quotes. If you give me a second, I could pull it up and read some of that to you if you missed it today, because he said this was one of his most dominating performances. He wants to stay active, but he wants to unify these titles. When you hear that word unification, you think again, going back a few years ago, where this trend started but didn't last. Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. to unify the 147-pound titles in the 4-belt era. And, of course, that didn't last very long, because Errol Spence Jr. has taken extended time off before he gets back in the ring, and there's speculation when and who. And Terence Crawford has decided to drop those belts and go to 154, where he is now the champion. But the champion now at 154 wants all these titles unified, and that's what he's looking for. That's what he said yesterday. And also said that he can obviously dominate and beat everyone. And he is not a youngster. He's close to 40 years of age, or maybe upwards more than that. Very talented. If you watched him in the ring, he goes on the attack early. And he can beat, possibly, in my opinion, any one of those opponents that would be gunning for his title in his quest to unify the division at 154. Again, though, unification in boxing and unifying all these alphabet soup titles is a tremendous task. It can happen. Promoters, of course, have to work together along with the various streaming networks and all the money involved. They can do it in Saudi Arabia with the kings and princes in control. They have the money, and it seems like the promoters and the fighters love going there because they're getting paid. But it remains to be seen what Errol Spence Jr. wants to do next in his division, if indeed he does get Fundora. And a fight like that, I think Fundora could win. He's been more active, obviously. And he's got that lanky frame that can get to you and can get the punch in when he has to. He's fast, he's agile, he's got good footwork for his size. And yes, we know what Errol Spence Jr. is capable of doing, but again, inactivity has become his rust and his decline. As far as Terence Crawford, he remains active. Only one fight this year at 154, probably not going to fight again to next year. I would love to see Terence Crawford get in there with Fundora as his next challenge and start the unification process in the division of 154. You don't know what Charlo is up to. He's been very quiet. Again, a champion in recess. So that remains to be seen if Charlo gets a title shot with his champion in recess designation. Someone tell me what champion in recess means. inactivity due to certain circumstances beyond his control? Or is it because the sanctioning group organizations want him still to be retained as a champion and gives him that status? As far as an interim champion, such as Virgil Ortiz Jr., that's understood. He's waiting for the next battle. And in the end, the division at 154 is very, very interesting. I will tell you, perplexing, but interesting. And now it's up to the promoters. It's up to Bakhram's promoters at Main Event. It's up to Eddie Hearn, possibly at Matchroom. It's possibly up to what Golden Boy and Virgil Ortiz want to do or whatever. It's very, very confusing. Whatever way you look at it, boxing needs one champion in each division. We try to get there. It never stays. We get there, and then it never stays because boxing still has that issue. As I tell you, time and time again, week after week, an issue of being unified, and that being the promoters, the managers, the alphabet soup sanctioning organizations. They need to work together. And many times they don't, because when you're talking WBA, WBC, WBO, IBF, NABF, whatever, ICW, they're all alphabet soup. Talking about them, you're talking about money. You're talking about who gets most of the piece of the pie. And it becomes a bidding war process with purse bids and putting it all together. So the division of 154 might look interesting, but very confusing. More to come on that. In the meantime, we await word of the champion Bakhram's next move. And interesting to see if Terrence Crawford, for Sebastian Fundora get it going, or is it going to be for Sebastian Fundora against Errol Spence Jr.? And then we look at the undefeated middleweight here, Cesar Tapia, 16-0-1. First, no, that's Ioannis Tellez. He was on the co-main event of Super Welterweight. Ioannis Tellez, we just had it up. Remains undefeated, 19-0, 7 knockouts on the Daz and undercard. Knocked out Johan Gonzalez, round 6, twice. Again in round 7 and got the win. And then the undefeated middleweight, Cesar Tapia, 16-0-1, 10 knockouts, on his way up. When you get a record like that, 16-0, and you're on the zone, you're getting places. 10-round majority decision over Andre Salvadera. And the vacant IBF super middleweight title was finally decided. This was a title, again, stripped of Canelo Alvarez, who had all the belts at 168. The IBF said Canelo wasn't meeting his mandatory, and Skull was the mandatory, so they decided, let the fight be decided for the IBF belt, and William Skull gets it. He's now a champion in 168, so there goes for sure unification at 168. Canelo Alvarez, as you know, has most of the titles. So Skull is 23-0, 12-round unanimous decision of the number 2 ranked Vladimir Shishkin. Again, alphabet soup, boxing politics, whatever way you want to look at it. Canelo Alvarez is the champion in the division. Now you wonder Canelo's next move. We await that. He fights again in May of the new year. Only fights twice a year. Any number of options for Canelo. But as you know, he's the face of boxing, supposedly the top rated fighter in the world, pound for pound to many. So he gets to decide who's next and when. We'll know it'll probably be in May, but we don't know against who. Will he be against the IBF champ Skull now, who took the IBF title the other night? Well, Canelo would probably love to have all the belts again, but it's not going to be his decision in the end. It's going to be up to the IBF to decide whether they want to give that title back to Canelo Alvarez. And that's what's wrong with the sport. Time and time again, you get too much of this. You get too much confusion. Who each champion is in each division. Time and time again, you have to wonder what sanctioning organization is going to say this is the mandated opponent. Time and time again, you wonder when they could put it all together. Time and time again, we get the same old story. We don't know. Perplexion. perplexed, as I say. The complexity of the pro of boxing. The boxing business is very complex. And the reason is we don't have unity. And I commend again Oscar De La Hoya all the time. He's very outspoken about it. Eddie Hearn is too, to a point. But all the promoters can't get on the same page. And fighters have a big part of this, including Canelo Alvarez, who makes an awful lot of money. Canelo Alvarez, the face of boxing, who can decide where I'm fighting next and who I'm fighting next. His career is still going strong, so he can decide. He makes the most money than any active fighter out there today. The promoters love him because he generates the income. The promoters love Canelo because he puts numbers on pay-per-view, still relatively high in the pay-per-view industry in boxing that's not as high as it used to be, not as profitable. So we'll see where this all goes. We'll see. Time will tell as we wind down the year soon in boxing, which to me has been a great year. We'll talk about that at another time soon on the program. All right, how about the heavyweight MMA fighter who turned, pro, was a pro fighter, and you know what he did. You got to look at Francis Ngannou, fresh off now an MMA win, claiming the PFL Super Featherweight Heavyweight Championship, is saying he's eyeing out John Jones for his competitive desires, and John Jones may be again in the octagon as an active MMA fighter again. Ngannou is looking at being in that heavyweight division title mix again. He just has to decide, is it MMA or is it pro boxing? Now, John Jones wants to go into boxing, so Ngannou and Jones maybe heavyweight fight. Okay, so it is all right now up in the air what Ngannou wants to do, fresh off another win and has another championship as an MMA fighter. Now, did you notice the heavyweight division? Now, Scott, I don't know if you have that clip ready. I don't know if you Mike Tyson looking good in training as he gets ready for the Jake Paul extravaganza coming up mid next month on Netflix. Scott, I don't know if we have it. If you do, we can cue it up. Got a little clip that Tyson put out on his Twitter feed, X, of him sparring, and he looked pretty good. He looked pretty good. He looks great. Looks in good shape for an almost 60-year-old man getting back in the ring competitively in a fight that's going to count on the record against Jake Paul. And my interest, again, folks, on this is not Tyson-Paul extravaganza. We don't know how long it's going to go. The rules are different. To me, it should be an exhibition, not a fight. It's going to make a lot of money because you got Tyson and Paul. But it's Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano in their rematch. That's the fight I want to see on that card. It's been long anticipated, and it's going to happen on that Netflix card that has Tyson and of course, Jake Paul. So we'll see. But, if you get a chance, and I thought I had it, my bad, because I might have not queued it up for Scott. But it's flirting on Tyson's Instagram feed, and he doesn't look like a 60-year-old man. Do we have it, Scott? Good for you, my friend. Let's roll it a little bit. Take a look at this. You tell me if Mike Tyson doesn't look good or not. Yeah, his corner's screaming at him over there, and you know what? Tyson put that out. He looks great. He looks great. I mean, he went on the attack there. I don't know who the sparring partner was, but for his 60-year-old man, not bad at all. That's on his Twitter feed. He's been putting a lot on Twitter in the last few days, on X, it is known now. And now it remains to see what, if you look at Jake Paul, he's a heavyweight now. I mean, he's showing it. I've never seen him so fat. I will say fat. He's heavy. But he's not releasing really any much training video from what I've seen. But Mike Tyson has. Again, it's going to just be a spectacular. That's all it is, an extravaganza to make money. Tyson hopefully doesn't get hurt. And Jake Paul will try and move on, and we'll see if Jake Paul finally says, I'm going to take on formidable opponents to become the best in the world that he claims he is. So we'll see where that goes. Anyway, I'm glad we were able to get that up. Thank you, Scott. And yesterday, I don't know if you caught it. I don't know if you saw the press conference. December 21st, Saudi Arabia is the rematch for the heavyweight title championships. Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury. And yesterday, that was interesting. Interesting that they had a press conference for the fight way over a month before. More interesting is how it was handled like an ambassador dinner almost. And here you had Usyk coming to the stage with a briefcase, dressed in some type of tuxedo suit with gloves on, and wondering the new look. Didn't even look like Usyk. And he presents Tyson with the briefcase and says, I'm going to open this up and present you with a gift. Very, very well scripted. It was actually humorous when you looked at it, if you haven't seen it. And out comes a photo of their first fight earlier this year where Usyk beat Fury and supposedly got all the heavyweight titles with him. And there's a photo of the fight. And he kindly asked Tyson Fury to sign it. And he did. And the photo went back in the briefcase. They sat down and they continued. I thought it was humorous. More to come on that. You can't tell how great in shape both these heavyweights are. We anticipate, though, the rematch for the heavyweight title and hopefully can unify it again. Again, we come up with unity there. But very, very interesting. If you didn't see it, take a look. Take a look at it. But they're building up towards their rematch, which is coming close to happening again in mid-December. Yet, Daniel Dubois, who just came off a big win, is saying that, what am I waiting for? I want the winner of that fight. And he is basically in contention to be the number one guy to get the winner of Fury Usyk. That will be time to be told, of course. Let's move on to that interesting, always talkative division, junior welterweights at 140. With all the big names in that division, all vying for something special, including Shakur Stevenson under the Matchroom banner and Eddie Hearn now. Eddie Hearn talking this week about a super card coming up, real super, biggest one he's ever done in mid-February, probably in Saudi Arabia, because that's where they're doing all these events and where all the money is with the kings and princes. Talking about Shakur Stevenson. And he's trash talking a little bit. He's not so certain that Shakur Stevenson's going to be on that card. Stevenson might be in line, though, to fight William Zapata next. Will that be the fight that Eddie Hearn's talking about as far as the super card on February 25th? I believe that's the date he threw out on social media. Regardless, Shakur Stevenson, who's back from an injured hand that he sustained in training, is looking at his next fight to be someone that can take titles at 140. And Eddie Hearn's got him. So I guarantee you this, my friends. Talk is talk, but it will happen. The Shakur will be back in the ring on that card probably February 25th. And probably against the guy they've been talking about to have, William Zapata at 140. But the Bill Henney, Ryan Garcia trash talk continues almost every day on social media or on X, formerly Twitter, including this. Look at this. Says to Ryan Garcia, you can't win a championship. There's nothing to hide away because you're avoiding random VADA testing. That's the contention here from Bill Henney, the father of Devin Henney, who keeps saying that if you did not use steroids, okay, my son would have won this fight. Yet, Ryan Garcia dominated that fight, steroids or not. Though Henney has put up the lawsuit, the litigation that Garcia used steroids, which caused him harm, detrimental harm, and that's an ongoing situation. But Henney and Garcia, Bill Henney and Ryan Garcia, keep having this Twitter trash of words war. Where will this go? Ryan Garcia says, I will give your son an ass whipping regardless. He continues to deny that he used steroids, and the mystery will be solved. Whatever that means. If you put up the Ryan Garcia tweet, Scott, you'll see Ryan Garcia's response. But here it is, and this is what it comes down to in a nutshell, my friends, as I tell you. Things like this, first of all, unnecessary, but you have social media, and you got Ryan Garcia, who's a social media phenom. And, now you've got Bill Henney, Devin Henney's father, doing the talking for his son. And it's getting very, very vicious. There's a lot of talk, though, that it's all show and tell. And there's a lot of talk that this is being done because the inevitable is going to occur. Let's click the timetable back. Garcia's suspension will be lifted at the end of March, going into April 1st, which will be the anniversary of the fight. That was a no contest, and Henney ended up still getting the win. What happens here is a fight is being made. Social media again with fighters. Social media becomes the vehicle now, the tool. Talk, trash, fight being made. And I'm guarantee you another one, my friends. Unless you're on another planet, or I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, sometimes I don't know what I'm talking about. But whatever. I think most times I make sense, though. Guarantee. It's inevitable. Rematch has been written all over this. As long as they keep trashing each other, as long as they're communicating, and I believe they're communicating off Twitter as well. They keep creating a buzz. And fans want to see a rematch as much as Henney says, I don't want a rematch. Garcia does to settle it. Come on, you think they're not friends behind the scenes? They talk. You think the promoters don't know what's going on? Of course they do. You think the Saudi Arabians, king and princes out over there with all the money, you think they want this fight again? Of course they do. Assuming that that's where it will end up, and I think it will. I don't see this fight returning to Las Vegas or returning to Barclays Center in Brooklyn. If indeed they do it, and I think they will. Saudi Arabia, where the money is what they'll do. The Turkish, the kings and princes, the Turk wants these fights. He's on good terms with both fighters, both camps, and all the other promoters. I'm sure this talk will continue. I'm sure when we meet again next week here and Keep It in the Ring, I'll have more of this for you because there'll be more tweets every day from Ryan Garcia, who loves to do this, and now Bill Henney, Devin Henney's father, because fights are being made now in social media. What are your thoughts? Let me know. Comment. Subscribe to my channel on YouTube, Rich Mancuso, Keep It in the Ring. My Facebook page, AGT Network, and String Punk Entertainment. We're here. That's why we're here, to tell you stuff like this. You know about it. We go into it a little more, I think. All right, enough for Ryan Garcia. Let's take a look at a fight on the calendar this weekend. The fight calendar a little slow right now. We know we're in the fall season. We'll pick up with some more significant fights coming up. Now, again, there are fights every weekend, but a lot of them you don't get on the streaming networks. You don't get them on your networks, whatever. You have to look them up. You go to your various boxing websites, look at the calendar. There might be a name there or two that dwell your interest. Take a look at it. But this weekend we have one of significance of sort, also has an impact in that division of 140. On the zone, you get to see Regis Prograis again. 10 rounds against Jack Catterall. Super lightweights. This is Prograis now looking to need this win if he wants to stay in the mix of 140. Looking to become a 3-time champ. Of course, Prograis has not looked good as of late. And remember that Devin Henney just demolished him round to round, controlled the fight when they fought last year. Henney, Prograis wasn't at his best. And he has to rebound. He's better than that. And he even admits to that. Many say that Prograis was no match for Devin Henney. Well, he had a bad night. He could have done better than that. I believe he's a much better fighter than what you saw he did against Devin Henney. Many say no, that Prograis was out of his territory, didn't belong in the ring with Devin Haney. I disagree with that. I just think he had a very bad night, whether it be distraction or whatever it be. But then again, he's looking to turn the clock ahead, and he's now looking at Jake Catterall again, a fight they've been talking about for a long time. Of course, Catterall, since 2017, look at this factor, has not won by stoppage his last 3 fights. You know, he hasn't stopped an opponent, and Prograis may not be a guy he can stop. But the loss to Devin Haney by Regis Prograis still lingers on this guy. He's still young enough to rebound, and that's why this fight is of significance to him. Because if he wins this fight, then he's in that discussion right away again with Teofimo Lopez, one of the champions, or Liam Paro, one of the champions in the confusing alphabet soup division at 140 in all of boxing. Prograis wins, he gets a chance. He's up there again and could get a shot at a championship soon in the new year. So it's a significant fight for Regis Prograis. He's looking to win this in a 10-round fight. I believe, again, it will go the distance. 10 rounds, but Prograis will win it. I'd like to know what you think. Let me know. But Catterall is no slouch, even though he goes distance with his opponents. Doesn't knock guys out. And he needs this win. If he doesn't, he's not reveling no more. I don't know if he'll get another opportunity at anything. So we'll see what happens. And this guy, Shaquille Foster, looking to finish, as he says, unfinished business. He's been talking, the training camp videos now coming out. They're getting closer, looking for the rematch he deserved. He was stripped of the junior lightweight title November 2nd. It's all set. ESPN Plus. He lost that split decision. Remember, controversial as it was to Canseco. He says now he's motivated to be a 2-time champ. He's ready for the rematch, a rematch that he called for immediately after that controversial loss early this year. And the promoters got together, including Top Ranks Bob Arum, where he's under that wing. ESPN Plus will have it. Foster is ready. He said, and this was a great quote again, unfinished business. And that unfinished business is rightfully regaining a title that was stripped from him controversially, stripped, and was highway robbery. One of many we've had this year in the sport. Again, how do you end all this? You need some unity in the sport, and you need better judges in the sport. And hopefully this time, Foster will get the unfinished business done November 2nd on ESPN Plus. Talented young fighter. Deserved better the first time. Not saying that Canseco was not formidable and good enough, but did not deserve to win that fight and did not deserve to have that title that Foster should still have. All right, we're reaching the bottom of the hour, and we're also going to continue. I'm going to bring in my great producer back with us this week, Scott Churston from Spring Punk Entertainment. And the reason I'm bringing Scott in, we have no guest this week. However, we are going to do the fact of the week. I always do every week. And Scott is a part of this week. Let's see if I can get him. Hey, Scott, are you there, my friend?
Yeah, I got a little video glitch, so you're going to have to give me audio only, though.
That's all right. We don't need to see your face.
Good. You don't want to anyway.
No, we don't want to see your face.
It's healthier this way.
I don't want people to see mine either. I mean, I have this 4-day beard on me. It's going to go, should I wear a beard, Scott?
Honestly, here's the thing. I like the gritty part of what you got there, but I think the beard gives you character. You got the little facial hair going, you got the little mustache going. It's got, the 80s mustache is sort of coming back a little bit right now.
A little bit.
Which is kind of weird when you see all these pictures like in Major League Baseball that suddenly are pulling a Tom Selleck thing going.
Yeah, well, fact of the week, I'll be busy with the World Series in New York next week. Fact of the week is I'm not keeping this beard.
Okay.
It itches.
Yes. Oh, God. Yes, I know that one.
And I'm not going to keep it. All right. Scott, you're busy. It's great to have you back again. Condolences from us all.
Thanks, man.
As we said last week on the untimely passing of your mom. I know it's still there, but remember, she's there with you all the time, 24/7. All right. Here we go, Scott. Let's bring you in with the fact of the week. And it's about a fighter, a Hall of Famer, a heavyweight champ, Floyd Patterson, well known. At one time was the commissioner of New York State Athletic Commission. He was a heavyweight that won 55 fights. Twice he held the heavyweight title. But this is an interesting fact that I want to see if you can try. 13 times, that's the number, in his title reigns, in his fights. 55 fights, 13 times what happened? 55 fights overall in his career for the two-time heavyweight champ. 13 times something happened to this heavyweight, which is when you look at the number and you hear it, it's an amazing number. And only I come up with these facts.
Probably knockdowns.
No. Yeah, a good knockout ratio.
No, knockdown.
No. Less than many times. You're right. You looked it up. Come on. You're right. Less than 13 times. Less than 13 times he hit the canvas. Less than 13 times in 55 pro fights as a heavyweight, two-time champ, Floyd Patterson. Isn't that remarkable?
It 100% is,
Well, many will say that it's not remarkable because it's my fact of the week, but I thought it was. And I didn't know that. I know that till I got my facts together. So thank you, Scott. You were close. No, fact of the week, always. We'll have a sponsor for the fact of the week soon. I know Scott and I are working on that. And we reached the bottom of the hour. Keep it in the ring. I'm Rich Mancuso. Thank you for joining us. Like, comment, and subscribe my YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso. Keep it in the ring page. Like that. We're also live and comment and like on also the Stream Punk Entertainment and the AGT Network. Back with you in a moment, fans, with more Keep It in the Ring, pro wrestling, a lot of that. I'm Rich Mancuso. Stay with us. Back in a second.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
All right, on the heels of a major World Series, Yankees-Dodgers, leave that for somewhere else, though I do have a vested interest in that because I'm covering the World Series next week in New York at Yankee Stadium. Though this is Keep It in the Ring, where we talk boxing, wrestling, a little MMA, and much more each and every week, live on my YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso. Like, comment, and subscribe. Also, Stream Punk Entertainment, AGT Network, and like my Keep It in the Ring page. Social media handles again, Ring786, X, formerly Twitter, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso. Get me there. I try and get back to you, as many as you as I can. And also the fight calendar. Scroll to the bottom of your screen. One major fight, again, we just talked about. Prograis, Catterall, this Saturday night on the Zone. Interesting fight. Watch it if you have the Zone and enjoy it. It's the major fight of the weekend. Now we move on to pro wrestling, which is always busy. Seems like 24/7 with pro wrestling when it comes to WWE, AEW, and the independents that are out there. You see pandemonium. We talk more about that with Assault Championship Wrestling. That's coming up in March. Me and Scott Church and I doing the production. I'm doing the broadcasting. We'll have Jason Knight, some of the talent coming on probably in the next few weeks, in the months ahead, leading up to that March card in South Jersey. And, in between all that, you have WWE continuing with their PLEs leading up to Crown Jewel coming up next weekend. Survivor Series War Games, which will lead up to the WrestleMania season come January Royal Rumble. And AEW coming up with Full Gear November 23rd, Prudential Center, New Jersey. Right now, they're lining up storylines to get to a culmination for that one. In the meantime, let's look at WWE. I'm going to do this solo by myself. best I can. Bear with me. You talk about the kings and princes of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia with Crown Jewel. This has become now a yearly event. There's a lot of money involved in this next weekend again with Crown Jewel. This was something again that Vince McMahon, who's no longer seen or heard from except about a lawsuit, it's a shame. A part of his legacy starting to get WWE overseas international. But Crown Jewel is leading up to many, many interesting storylines and events. Here you go. Seth Rollins back. And he's still after Bronson Reed. Can CM Punk be far behind? Who's supposedly sitting it out a little bit more to heal some injuries after his encounter in war with Drew McIntyre. Rollins and Bronson Reed, they brawl from the beginning of Monday Night Raw, and they continue to go at it backstage. And this makes for interesting, compelling WWE television on Monday Night Raw, which is now down to 2 hours, not 3. And I think the 2-hour format's working well, that they're talking about going to the 3 hours on Netflix again come January with a new big deal with Netflix on Monday Night Raw. But Rollins and Reed brawl from the beginning. Cameras on, and they beginning to brawl backstage, and it carries on afterwards, leading to this Crown Jewel. The score will be settled between these two. And then Braun Breaker. This was interesting, but I can understand the concept around it, my friends. Braun Breaker ends the brief title reign, Intercontinental Champion title reign, of Jey Uso. Now, there's logic behind this in many ways. You think Breaker would, you thought that Braun was going to become a good guy. You thought that. You can see when he shook Uso's hand and congratulated him a few weeks ago on Monday Night Raw, you thought things were changing, but he played the game because now he got the match he wanted, the rematch, and their title changes hands on Monday Night Raw. Breaker defeats Jey Uso. So Uso had one of the shortest title reigns in WWE with that championship. God, that was held for months, maybe a year or more by Gunther at one time. But now we have Breaker champ again, and a lot beginning after that title, but it won't be Jey Uso again. You know why? Because the storyline gets deeper and deeper every week on WWE television programming. You know why? Jey Uso is solo right now. Jey Uso is being recruited by his brother Jimmy, and Roman Reigns is all consenting to it to form the bloodline part that will take on Solo Sikoa, the supposed real tribal chief at Survivor Games, War Games next month. So they're recruiting Jey Uso to do that, and then see where that goes with Jey Uso. Paul Heyman's coming back into the fold. That'll probably happen at Crown Jewel next week. And Paul Heyman returns, and where will he be? Supposedly the reports that are very accurate are Heyman's bringing in another Russo, or Heyman, or maybe even Cody Rhodes. How interesting is this, that Cody Rhodes will align with Reigns and the two Uso brothers to take on the new bloodline at War Games of Solo Sikoa. It's a very interesting, creative part of the genius of Triple H and the writing team at WWE. And why is it interesting is because we keep talking about it, we anticipate, and then we get to see it. It's unfolding right in front of us. It makes for great, compelling WWE television to watch, and to watch the PLE events where they want you to do on Peacock. So let's see now what happens with Jey Uso. But guarantee another one from Rich Mancuso that he's going to be with Roman Reigns and his brother Jimmy again. And that Paul Heyman will return. But we don't know, though, if Heyman's going to be with Reigns. That's the part of this being perplexed and wondering what's next with WWE and that storyline, which is fantastic. Damian Priest, he's confronting Gunther now. Priest on his own, no longer a part of Judgment Day. And now he's eyeing that world championship that he once had. He wants that back. You could probably see that happening soon, if not later. It all depends on where they go. with Cody Rhodes and Reigns in the bloodline. So again, we're being teased, as we see here for Monday Night Raw. But we're also being teased by the appearance again of Goldberg. One last match in WWE. You know, at Bad Blood, he shows up in Atlanta at ringside and gets in the ring. And you see that Gunther and Goldberg are going to go face to face. Now, we haven't heard if he's been signed to a contract, one match, whatever it be, one appearance. We do know this from all sources. Goldberg's going to be brought in and challenge Gunther for that title, which makes it even more interesting. Why Goldberg would come back again? Well, it's obvious. Good marketing, good money. Goldberg has a ton of fans. And a Gunther-Goldberg match becomes this interesting storyline with Damian Priest in the middle. Where does this go? That's what's making WWE so profitable. Why it's becoming more interesting and a must-watch week after week, whether it be Raw, SmackDown, and of course the PLE events and everything else they do. So stay tuned for that. And how about the Miz and the New Testament? They're trying to recruit him, but the Wyatt Sticks are back. They've been conspicuous by their absence the last few weeks or month. Now it looks like they're going into a storyline and program with the New Testament, which is going to be good. They both live those dark hours, as they say, on Monday Night Raw. And before we get to that, Scott, in AEW, we're going to run that down. New Testament, Miz, rivaling his old partner, R-Truth. That, too, is interesting, and how R-Truth got the win this week on Raw. More to come on that. And, of course, Judgment Day, no more with Rhea Ripley as she's trying to get a title back. And you're looking at the Crown Jewel titles, which I don't know why they're doing that. Only because it's Saudi Arabia, Crown Jewel, and they got to do something interesting. 2 new title belts. So Rhea against Liv Morgan. And you know, it's going to be Cody against Gunther, all for that Crown Jewel title that we may have now on a yearly basis. But when are they going to defend those belts? They're not going to defend those belts here. It's done strictly for Crown Jewel. So why even do it? It is a pretty looking belt. You know what I'm talking about if you've seen that. But Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Dirty Dom, that's another angle storyline that continues every week on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. And then I'm just waiting to see Rhea Ripley get the title back, because Raquel Rodriguez, who looks like a Rhea Ripley lookalike, she's in the fold and mixing all this too with Liv Morgan and Dirty Dom and part of Judgment Day. And you're sensing Carlito's on the way out. He's in a little trouble too, because he made a comment on Monday Night Raw with the Japanese talent there and made a line that didn't go well with many. So we're waiting to see the outcome with Carlito. But he's going to be on the way out of Judgment Day. That's eventual. Finn Balor, we don't know where he's headed with Judgment Day. Dirty Dom, though, Liv Morgan, that's still very used, and I'm just waiting for Rhea Ripley to get her hands on the right way with Dirty Dom out of the way and could take the title back from Liv Morgan. I can't stand Liv Morgan. That's what it comes down to. But I don't write the storylines in WWE. Triple H does. Regardless, WWE keeps getting better and better, if not at their peak. The ratings are respectable. The PLE events are perfect. 5 matches the most. Interesting storylines. There might be one too many PLEs, but WWE storylines under the reign of Triple H and Creative have been just fantastic. And it doesn't get dull. It's always interesting. You look forward to watching Monday Night Raw for 2 hours, SmackDown for the other 2 on Friday night, whether you watch it live or on delay, and all the other programming they do. And if they get to an arena in your town and you can afford a ticket, if they're available, do so. It's worth it. I couldn't say that much too long ago when Vince McMahon was in control. I could say it now. All right, let's get to AEW quickly. Now we can show you Chris Jericho, who regained the Ring of Honor Championship, another title that changed quickly again. Mark Briscoe loses ladder war on Dynamite Wednesday night. Pretty good. AEW loves doing matches like that. Brutal. And Chris Jericho, the old man, once again, the Ring of Honor championship on his waist. You wonder why. But Chris Jericho pulls a lot of weight, a lot of power in AEW. The title belongs on him until otherwise known. And MJF and Adam Cole getting into a program, getting ready for Full Gear. You know, MJF to me, vicious, more vicious than he ever was as a heel in AEW. Being rivaled, though. And he's got the new Hurt business in AEW now with Bobby Lashley coming in soon. You have Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, and, of course, MVP. That's an angle to keep watching also on AEW. Their ratings, though, they can't get nowhere near what WWE is. Yet they're holding their own with more interest, though, now with Bobby Lashley coming in. And, of course, Jon Moxley looking like he wants to take over AEW. He's the vicious heel now, not MJF, with Claudio and Yuta. Brutal all the time. They put Ryan Danielson into retirement. And we haven't heard when that's going to be official, but it should be because he's going to require neck surgery. A long, distinguished career. But what about Jon Moxley? How vicious he got. How brutal he's become. How he's formed this alliance. How Orange Cassidy and anyone that Orange Cassidy has aligned to him. How he, or it's not only Orange Cassidy, you know, it's just about everyone that Jon Moxley doesn't want to see. It's crazy. Moxley's always been a vicious heel in WWE as Dean Ambrose and now in AEW. He's gotten to his peak again. AEW, though, holding her own, interesting. Tony Khan staying with it. And as long as you got two good wrestling organizations that you can watch, then we're doing okay. And you got TNA. We don't talk about TNA much, but they're out there. They're out there and doing pretty well. The ratings are abysmal on TV. And you have a lot of the independents as well, where you can catch a local wrestling show somewhere. Some of them are streamed, including ours, Pandemonium and ACW, coming up in mid-March. More wrestling next week. This is Keep It in the Ring. I'm Rich Mancuso. Take a final and brief break of the evening and the hour. Nostalgia coming up. Got a few interesting nostalgia notes of interest for you, and it pertains to the late, great heavyweight undefeated champ, Rocky Marciano. Back in a moment, folks. This is Keep It in the Ring, live on my YouTube channel. Like, comment, and subscribe. Stream Punk Entertainment, the AGT Network, and like my Facebook page, Keep It in the Ring. I'm Rich Mancuso. Stay with us. Back in a moment.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
You know, someone with a couple of friends I haven't seen in a while this week, and I mean, Rich, you know, we watch your show every week, but why do I love combat sports, especially boxing and pro wrestling, so much? How do you answer them? How do you say so? I mean, it's been in my blood since I was a kid. Pro wrestling, yeah, since I was 5 years old. Boxing, I really got introduced to it when I was 10, 11 years old. Just watched the fights at home and watched with some family members that were into it. And then I got involved in it and actually started, believe it or not, I trained. The old story, Rich Mancuso got knocked out 4 times as an amateur, which is a true story. But yeah, you know what it is? The competitive juices, they flow. It's the characters involved. Wrestlers are characters, great to be around. Pro fighters are very interesting to talk to. They have great stories. And, you know, let's face it, These are athletes. Some of the best athletes in the world are pro fighters, and pro wrestlers are athletes as well as entertainers, and they might have it more brutal than a pro fighter. So I get that question a lot. And you also get to say what is more brutal. As I posed this question about a month ago on the program, what is a more brutal sport, boxing or MMA? And you look at MMA, that could be more brutal of them all. But that's my answer to people, to everyone. Why do I love it so much? Competitiveness, the people involved, the characters, the fighters. Of all sports I've covered in my long career, boxing's been my passion, my love. And a lot of the reason is the people involved with it, not the dirty politics. We know that's involved in boxing. The fighters, they make it. And without the fighters, you don't have boxing, you don't have it. And they sacrifice a lot. Some of them have jobs on the side, leave work, stay home from their families a long amount of time a day during the week. They're in the gym, they get in the ring. That's where it all culminates. It's a great sport, and I love it. And I can watch it 24/7 more than any sport that's out there. And I love baseball. I love all sports. I write about them all. Baseball in particular, for 6 months out of the year, I'm at the ballpark. But there's not enough boxing to see up front, face to face every week, and that's what it is. It's so sparse, so spread out. Anyway, enough of that. Because back then, as I do nostalgia now, boxing was very much open, very much available, no matter where you saw it. But boxing has that history too, which you have to love. Many fights before my time, and of course, more now that'll be talked about in years to come. Okay? And this in particular, October 25th, 1990, right here, you had Evander Holyfield of recent fame in the Hall of Fame, knocked out Buster Douglas in the third round in Las Vegas, become the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Again, this was before more of the boxing politics, more of all the added alphabet soup titles. Of course, you know the story of Buster Douglas, probably the upset of boxing history, when he knocked down to throw Mike Tyson at a heavyweight title in Japan. No one expected that. Buster Douglas, though, and Evander Holyfield, October 25th, 1990. And Holyfield knocks out Douglas in the third round. Holyfield was a great champ in the heavyweight division, hold the titles numerous times, and continued even at a late age till they told him, you must stop or it's going to be detrimental. And he did. Became a promoter, not too successful at it, but he's out there, Evander Holyfield. But this one in particular, too, I got to talk about. He's my favorite, my idol. Never saw him fight up front way before my time. The Rock. The original Rock. Rocky Marciano. October 26, 1951. And later became friends with an adversary. Good friends with the late Joe Louis, also the great Hall of Famer. Marciano knocked Joe Louis out in the 8th round of Madison Square Garden in New York City. The final fight for the Brown Bomber, Joe Louis. Louis was 66-3, 52 knockouts. He was stopped for the second time in his career. First time since losing to Max Schelling at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx in June of 1936. Again, Marciano and Louis became very good friends. And at the old Rocky Marciano Museum, yes, there was one, 3 floors of it, my late good friend Steve Acunto up in Mount Vernon, New York, you saw many photos of Rocky Marciano, the museum, and him and Joe Louis together. Marciano bailed out Louis from some financial debt too, so it goes, and that's the truth. They became good friends, not because of that. They developed this camaraderie by fighting each other. They had some great fights. They had a great fight. And out of that, they developed that respect for each other. And it goes back to me saying once again why I love boxing so much. The camaraderie. With most people that are in the business, though they do go at it and have a war of words. You see it now ongoing with Garcia and Bill Henney. But the fighters, as much as they hype up a fight today, you look at years ago, it wasn't as vicious as the words they do now. But here's an example of camaraderie in the sport. Fighters are great people. They are a small fraternity of a family. And when it comes down to it outside the ring, they all believe in one thing: competitiveness that leads up to a fight, and then respecting each other's talents, what they do. And they do that years after they retire. They stay in touch. They become friends. They ask each other, how's your family doing? Most of all, how's your health? Marciano and Lewis had that bond, as so many continue to do today. And finally, October 30th, 1974, we're approaching it again. Muhammad Ali upsets George Foreman, the Rumble in the Jungle, the 8th round knockout, retaining the heavyweight title. Okay? Ali and Foreman, Rumble in the Jungle. Don King, the promoter. A fight they said that could never be made in Zaire, South Africa. It did. Historic in boxing history. Coming up on it again, October 30th, 1974. And yes, an added fact, that fight influenced the end of Rocky III. Yes, it did. Thanks for that note. And that, my friends, concludes this week's edition of Keep It in the Ring. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Again, my social media handles, X, formerly Twitter, Ring786, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso, and I'm on Instagram as well. Read my content on String Punk Entertainment, Latinosports.com, and also NewYorkSportsDay.com, among some of the other outlets. Also, again, like, comment, and subscribe here on YouTube. We're expanding the channel little by little. Scott Churston and I, there'll be a little more interesting tidbits and briefs during the course of a week, besides the hour show we do live and every week here at 8 p.m. Eastern on my YouTube channel. Like, comment, and subscribe, Rich Mancuso. And, of course, String Punk Entertainment, AGT Network, and, again, like my Facebook page. I think I've given you enough this week to tell you where to get me and how to stay in touch. And a lot of you do, and I appreciate that. Next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Live, we're scheduled. Let's see where it goes. Stay in touch. You know how to reach me. Again, thank you for your continued support. As always, as I tell you each and every week when I leave you, stay well, God bless, and most of all, take care of each other. I'm Rich Mancuso. Thanks for watching again, and as always, keep it in the ring. See you next week.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never